Lagos weathered Casablanca. The Port Harcourt-based side were 2-1 winners over the defending champions on Sunday. In Abuja, Nigeria's second representative in the CAF Champions League, Plateau United defeated Esperance of Tunisia 2-1 on Sunday. While the remaining Nigeria representative in the CAF Confederation Cup, Fire United rushed to defending champions RS Bekane 3-1 at the Mobolaji Johnson Arena in Lagos. And that's all we have for you on this morning edition of the News Sponge. Up next is the Diamond Breakfast Show, where we bring you the analysis of the major stories making the rounds. Just stay with us. We'll be right back.
Major talking point in Nigeria are always on the lips of the citizens.
What's going on in this country? Look at smaller countries taking lead, and you call yourself giant of Africa. Yeah.
Nigeria don't spoil my business too much. Nigeria is too hard for us. I mean, they want to kill us. Why they not kill us for Nigeria? Oh, please, help us beg them.
They should reduce their expenditure so that they can free enough money for social development.
I wish for a Nigeria where we elect a leader based on competency and not popularity.
On the Diamond Breakfast Show, we place the spotlight on the critical issues in the country.
Government that says they are broke can prioritize construction of an additional runway over education of the people.
How can you run in the mean? This is intolerable. It's provocative.
Now, you see, when you look at our democratic journey, we are yet to practice genuine democratic system in Nigeria.
Join us on Mondays to Friday on the DBS from 9 to 10 a.m. The Diamond Breakfast Show, amplifying the voice of the people. From the studios of Diamond 88.7 FM in Ilorin, this is the Diamond Breakfast Show.
Welcome back. You're still tuned in and listening to Diamond 88.7 FM Ilorin. Welcome back to the Diamond Breakfast Show, a production of our News and Current Affairs Department here at Diamond 88.7 FM Ilorin. And this morning, we'll take a look at the analysis of some of the major stories making the rounds. But before we go on with the show, let me say a very good morning to you once again and a happy new week. I hope that you go forth and achieve all your goals for this week. Now, to do the analysis with me this morning, I have Mr. Olariwaju Isho in the building. A very good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's nice to have you in the studio. How was
Thanks
the weekend?
for having me. Fine. It was fine.
All right. Okay. Now, let's quickly take a look at the issues for this morning. The first issue we'll be taking a look at is the ongoing strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU. It is no longer news that the Court of Appeal in Abuja on Friday ordered the Academic Staff Union of Universities to call off its strike. The court gave the order after dismissing the union's application for a stay of execution of an earlier ruling of the National Industrial Court, directing the university lecturers to resume work. The three-member panel of the Court of Appeal, led by Amobarka, granted the union permission to appeal the ruling of the Industrial Court, but ruled that it must first resume work to be allowed to file the appeal. We all heard this news, we heard the stories. What do you think about this judgment? What do you think about the call for them to resume first before they can appeal the case?
I think briefly, the judgment sounds a bit dictatorial, simply because they have every right to hear their appeal. And appeal court, affirmed that the condition given that they must resume work before they can grant their request of stay of execution.
Yes.
I think ordinarily, when FG, drags the ASU to industrial courts, the lawyer representing ASU in the first instance said that federal government jumped the due process. That instead of going to industrial court in the first instance, they need to refer the case to industrial dispute resolution. So from that stage, they moved to the industrial court. But by and large, they have gone to industrial court, and the industrial court asked the ASU to resume work, which ASU appealed. You could remember, I think a few days ago, the same appeal said that the two parties to the issue should settle the matter out of the court and give them 48 hours, which ended on Thursday. And because there was no any development as regards to that, that what actually made the appeal to say that ASU should resume work. I think there's nothing bad if it is on a platter of that they should resume and allow them to appeal to the Supreme Court. They should have left the battle for the Supreme Court to judge. But saying that they must resume work before they can entertain the request for stay of prosecution, it appears like a dictatorial to me. And eventually, if ASU refuses, because ASU say that they are going to look at it within and seek for the interpretation of their lawyer, the service of their lawyer, on what to be done. I'm not coming asking a question that if eventually ASU refuses, to resume work as being directed by the appeal court, what is likely to happen? The minister said that they are going to be charged for the contempt of court.
Exactly.
But you can only use that when you think there are ways that you can deal with an organization or individual like that, especially if it is something that involves money. You can threaten them that you'll be charged for the contempt of court where your account, for instance, will be freezed or frozen.
All right.
But this is matter that has to do with service. These are the people that already not being paid for almost 8 months or 7 months. And like one of my mentors always says that sense, that common sense is not common most times. Even a professor can act like somebody without common sense when such a person have undergone agony, frustration, traumatization. What I'm saying in essence is that we all know that what is likely to happen, but if eventually ASU refuses to resume work, what do you think will happen? They will charge them for contempt of court. What is going to be the level of enforcement? To deregister ASU as a body, or to compare those that have not been paid salary that are going to feed their account? So I don't understand. But I want to appeal as an African Nigerian that ASU should try to listen to the directive given to them. They should resume first and pursue their case aftermath. But I'm talking now as an average analyst. If eventually, because I'm not a party to the issue, if eventually ASU refuses, what is likely to happen? And if you see the way federal government through the minister, especially in Gigi, has been handling this matter, I don't see maturity, conflict management, the disposition of conflict managerial skills in handling this matter. I don't see it there.
All right.
You see a minister, an appointee, grandstanding, taking matter too personal against the ASU. I don't see it as something worth commending.
All right. Talking about Ngige, let's quickly take a listen to what Ngige has to say before we move on with the rest of this issue. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, issued this threat during an interview on Channels TV, where he disclosed that he had directed labour controllers to monitor compliance at all tertiary institutions across the states. Let's quickly take a listen, and we'll be back to talk more on this.
Ask labour controllers in the 36 states and the zones to reach out to the universities. Number one, to see if the vice chancellors have opened the gates, because that's one of the import of that judgment of the industrial court. You must open the gates. You must open the classrooms. And to see whether those workers, those teachers, whether they have reported today, tomorrow, Friday and Saturday, my labour controllers will write me a report. The Education Ministry, through the NUC, will also do their own bit, and we'll compare them. By Tuesday, if they have complied with this, first they will have a right to appeal, as the court says, because the conditional leave that they gave them, that will be vacated automatically by their action. So if they have gone back to the classroom, they will have now to attach evidence and
All right, welcome back. We just listened to Dr. Chris Ngige speaking there. Now, with what he said and the actions of the government so far, how do you see the way the government has been handling this issue of this strike with ASU? Is this the right way to handle it? Is this what they should be doing at this point in time? Then would it also yield any positive results with the way they're going about it?
Let me answer your last question. That I doubt that is going to yield any meaningful or positive results, simply because I see a kind of conspiratorial understanding between the Appeal Court and the federal government because of the condition, that main condition, that before they can entertain their state of prosecution, they must get the gate opened and directed the feces as if he's directing the class captain. You know, when you see a minister talking like this, it has to do with the inefficiency, with the driver of the administration. I think Muhammadu Buhari has not done enough as the president of the country in handling the issue of ASU. You know, Jonathan, advised them on the 1st of September that they need to learn from how he handled the situation when he was the president of the country. What did he do? He embraced roundtable discussion, face to face with the ASU, and solve the matter amicably within 14 hours.
Okay.
What does it take, Mr. President, to do the needful? And when you see the way the minister in charge has been handling the situation, I don't think it's helping the administration. And I'm afraid, because this administration is about to, to leave, I think, few months' time.
Yes.
But they should have made a temporary resolution by embracing the roundtable dialogue with the ASU and discuss the gray areas. But for the minister alone to be taking the decision too authoritative and grandstanding on the way he has been handling the situation, that they have every right, but you want to see the level of their compliance by Tuesday. So if they fail to do that, what are you going to do? Go to charge them for contempt of court? If you charge them for contempt of court, what the court is going to do on ASU? Somebody that you have not paid, you don't have anything that you can use to compare them. So in that wise, I don't think federal government has been handling the situation as expected. And I think by now, even within the ministers, education minister and that of Ngige, I don't think any smooth relationship between them in this situation. But as the case may be, I don't want to speak for ASU because I'm not one of them. At the same time, I don't want to speak for that government because I'm not one of them. But let's see the likelihood. Tuesday is here. Maybe they are going to open. And if they open, what do we want to ensure? Is it to ensure that we open our university or the, lecture
academic activities commences? Now, that's it. That also brings me to my next question. Should Nigerian students start preparing to return to class?
Actually, it's on two folds. And that is why I said that this dictatorial tendency cannot solve the situation. Wọ́n ní a lè mú ẹṣin lọ odò ni, a lè fún un lómi mu báyìí, a lè force ẹ̀ kó mu mi.
You might need to translate that.
What I'm saying is that we can only take our us to the river. We can't compel it to take it.
To drink water. To
drink the water. So in essence, if eventually the vice chancellor being the appointees of the government, they have heard them like this, that they must be compared. But the issue is between the federal government and the vice chancellors? No. Are the issue between the ASU and federal government? Yes. But if you compare the vice chancellor to open the gate as he instructed, if they open the gate, the lecturer resumed, but they didn't take the students. Are we achieved? No, we have not achieved. Only that we achieved one-sidedly, that the directive given by the federal government must prevail whatever the ASU has at its salvation. But notwithstanding, our academic, our education sector, still going back in multiple steps.
All right. Thank you, Comrade Ishowo. Now, is it right for the government to enforce this court judgment without paying the striking lecturers that have not collected salaries for 7 months and counting?
When you look at the issues, Ngige said it in another dimension, that they have, it took them to industrial court because of like 6 or 7 reasons.
Okay.
One of the reasons is no work, no pay. I don't know who actually brought that clause. No work, no pay.
No
as a sort
pay.
of what? Where the lecturer in the first instance went on strike because of any other reason, not because of the issue table before the federal government that failed to honor. We're talking about 2009, memorandum of understanding between immediate past administration and the ASU. And you remember in 2015, when this administration came in, they reviewed that resolution. That they're not going to meet up with this. They now made another agreement in line with their collateral understanding. Both ASU and federal government agreed on this. What was the level of implementation from the federal government? This was actually led to part of the reasons that led to the strike. And in academic setting, unlike other professions, they have two major ways of working. One is lecturing, second is research.
Research, yes.
And they said from their own account that they have been doing their research consistently, despite the fact that most of them are at home, or all of them are at home, have been at home. Now, for you to come up that no work, no pay, simply because they have not returned to the class. And that was one of the reasons Ngige single-handedly took them to court. It was the same Ngige denied all along that federal government didn't take them to court. But when industrial court issued the directive that ASU should resume, it was the first person that made the comment that they must resume. So if you now see the level of inconsistency from that perspective, I don't think they're going to see the light at the end of the day. But for me, no work, no pay is an issue that needs to be discussed because the lecturers have been working right from home. And I don't think Muhammadu Buhari said it. It was the minister, maybe that sold the dummy to Mr. President. And the kind of Mr. President we have around who says this matters. It was the same Mr. President that commended the Ngige for job well done. Even when the ASU said it's the same person that is misinforming Mr. President. So it means they are using different lenses to view the personality and the performance of Ngige as a body. But for me, what is very, very essential is for Muhammadu Buhari to come in. I doubt this directive is going to yield a necessary result as expected.
All right, so do you think if President Muhammadu Buhari comes in and intervenes and probably sits with ASU and has a discussion with them, do you think this crisis will be resolved?
I'm quite sure. They have been saying this. Each time the ASU president appeared on the screen, he always said that this is a matter between the Muhammadu Buhari, the federal government, and the ASU. What did Jonathan do yesterday? That looks like a magic. It was because of the sincerity of purpose. He took the matter to them. It came down from the IOS, Mr. President, and embraced the discussion with them. And they saw it all. So the best thing for them is to tarry the strike and resume work. This is the expectation of an African Nigeria. That Muhammadu Buhari himself should talk, because it was the one that condemned the immediate past administration, the way he handled ASU. Now it is on turn. Why did they fail to do the needful as expected? So for me, Muhammadu Buhari is to take the bull by the horn, sit down with them, discuss with them. Okay, look at it. Benjamin Amila, the Speaker of our House of Representatives, took the matter almost 3 weeks ago, and we have seen the development. Talking about this, gave the first report, and in the course of giving another report, it was the time that this, resume directive came in. The same time when the minister summoned the chancellors, you remember, the pro-chancellors and vice chancellor had the meeting with them on how to look at the gray areas. They constituted 40-man committee in the process, and they gave them 2 weeks. What was the report submitted? In the course of these 2 weeks, it was then the same minister that summoned those personalities I mentioned before, took them to court. So it means that they are using all measures to compel an issue. He said the issue of compulsion over there. When he said we compel them to do the needful. Even between son and father, we have such relative respect, mutual respect for each other. So on this issue, federal government has not done the needful. And what I want to say is that this is going to be one of the campaign points for the major political players. I mean APC, PDP, SDP, and NPP. How are they going to bring an end to the issue of lingering crisis? Even during the military juntas, they were able to come out to resolve. And that's what actually bears what we call third front today. IBB with FG at that, with ASU at that time, there was in a situation like this, and military even saw the roundtable discussion as the best way to go. What does it take? The what do you call the democratic system of government to do the needful. So in this wise, Muhammadu Buhari should come on and do the needful on this matter.
Have a sit down with them. All right. Let's quickly move on to the second issue. It's still on education. The federal government's budgetary provisions for education in the next year budget, as presented by President Muhammadu Buhari on Friday. The federal government has proposed 470 billion naira for the revitalization and salary enhancement in tertiary institutions. Mr. Buhari stressed that government alone cannot finance education, tertiary education. It stated that in other countries, tertiary education is financed by the government and the people. Let's hear what President Muhammad Buhari said in this audio, and we'll be back to talk about it.
Crisis that has paralyzed activities in the public universities in the country. We expect the staff of these institutions to show a better appreciation of the current state of affairs in the country. In the determined effort to resolve the issue, we have provided a total of 470 billion naira in the 2023 budget from our constrained resources for revitalization and salary enhancements in the tertiary institutions. Distinguished senators and honorable members, it is instructive to know that today government alone cannot provide the resources required for funding tertiary education. In most countries, the cost of education is jointly shared between the government and the people, especially at the tertiary level. It is imperative, therefore, that we introduce a more sustainable model of funding tertiary education. The government remains committed to the implementation of agreements reached with staff union within available resources. This is why we have remained resolute that we will not sign any agreement that we would be unable to implement.
All right, welcome back. You're still tuned in and listening to the Diamond Breakfast Show, and we're taking a look at a couple of stories this morning. And we just listened to President Muhammad Buhari speaking there on how government alone cannot fund tertiary education in Nigeria. But let's first talk about the budget, the 470 billion naira. Is it enough to revitalize the tertiary education system in Nigeria?
It can't be enough. When you say tertiary institutions, you know, it comprises federal colleges of education,
polytechnics,
federal polytechnics, and the universities. And the agreement earlier before now is that they earmarked or divided the amounts that are going to go up in revitalizing our university to something 200 billion naira, more than 200 billion naira annually. And this is the part of the discussion. When the minister said it at a time that they have honored 80% of the request of the ASU, nobody knew that it was in anticipatory, which thought that this is what you want, this is what is available. Not that in anticipatory, but this is even confirmed that it is in anticipatory 2023. When the administration is about to go. But when you look at the statements, President actually dissected the issue as it's supposed to be.
All right.
But only it is untimely. It talks there as if he wants to be sworn in as the president of the country in couples of months that have studied the challenges facing our own education. But this is about to go. He now said that he's not going to honor, having honored one in 2015, having failed to implement that agreement. That is the one. Two, he made a comparison of what is obtainable in a globalized world, talking about some countries. Let me take UK as an example for you. In UK, actually, government is paying even less than 50% of what they are using to running the public university there.
Okay.
The components of how the university in UK has been run is one, the school fee from the international students. Two is the grants given by the rich people, private sectors in that university. Three is the IGR generating in that university. Fourth one is the federal government. These are the four components. In Nigeria today, take our university as an example. How has it been run? What is, as Muhammadu Buhari has never taken on the federal universities, how they are being utilizing their IGR since 7 years ago, in the last 7 years? Or are we saying that these people are not generating money? Have you seen a VC having or using 150 million exotic car? Look at how they have been running the exercise. And in that UK, even part of the reasons they used to appoint the VC is the inability to generate fund, middle touch. What are we using here? Tribe, religion, and other sentiments. We don't portray quality or the competence of the VC or individual to become the VC simply because they get the money at will. We are paying pittance as our school fee compared to what is obtainable there. In that country you mentioned, university education is not compulsory there. But immediately in their primary, secondary, maybe some courses, a graduate can survive. So, if you want to go to university, for instance in UK, it is not compulsory, and you are going to pay huge amount of money. Unlike what is obtainable in basic education. Muhammadu Buhari quality said that. But here, what constitutes our education system? Even a university cannot survive without the white collar job. Because we don't undergo short training that can make one to be independent. ASU has been on strike in the last 7 months. Go and check, go and take the statistics. You can only see the student doing the bake, doing the tailoring, doing this, doing that. Why all these things are not being incorporated into our education system, maybe right from the secondary school? So that immediately you finish secondary school or you have an ND or NC, you can survive even without going for white collar job. But we are talking about the issue when we're supposed to provide solution. We now journey to what is obtainable in advanced country without domesticating that system here. So for me, Muhammadu Buhari only being theoretical about this matter. We must start doing something reasonably on this, and that should be the responsibility of the coming president. I don't know. Aswaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I don't know. Atiku Abubakar, I don't know. Peter Obi, I don't know. Kwankwaso, I don't know. And all of others, whoever that will emerge eventually should be prepared on how to tackle the problem facing us. But if you continue, journey here and there, that the needful must be done. The same Muhammadu Buhari condemned Jonathan when he spent 7 billion naira on cover in 2014. He now said that 7 billion should have channeled into our education sector. Should have used that to answer the ASU request. Today, of course, no confab. But you see how we are foot dragging the issue that shows that we are not serious in the community of nations. We are not serious as a country.
All right. Now, let's quickly take a look at Buhari talking about private individuals coming into the education system, helping to fund tertiary education in Nigeria. Is it possible?
Do you know why? In those countries, the riches see that as a way to assist their countries. Here, the riches, instead to support the universities, to support the polytechnic college education, they prefer to go to have their own structure, to have their own universities, to have their own college of education, to mention but few. So the kind of patriotism we sense over there is different from what is obtainable here. Everybody want to reach here. Everybody want to have an institution in Nigeria. And that is why most of our rich people there, they have their own private university instead to support the university that is available, in reducing the challenge facing them. But one thing I want this administration to do is that they need to build their searchlight investigation on how the management of the universities have been running the affairs of that university monetarily. But an issue is what happened in Lagos State.
All right, Mr. Isho, are you trying to say that the universities are not accountable to anyone on how their IGR is spent?
Yes, they're not being accountable. But unfortunately, it wasn't us who responsible for this. Vice chancellors are appointed by government representatives. We call them governing councils. Right? The governing councils are constituted by federal government. How many university fees have been taken up? What happened in Unilag? You remember, between the chairman governing council and the VC, the same federal government considered the committee. The committee submitted the report. They asked the federal government to submit the white paper reports and to punish who is actually, wrong on that mess. See, now, nothing has been done on it. So, what am I saying is that even the federal government has not taken a decisive measure in handling the indiscipline, the mismanagement of our resources in our university, or let me say in our tertiary institution.
All right.
Students are there in our very tower here, Unilearning. We see how much we are paying, and federal government still paying the salaries of our professors, doctors, masters, and other, not teaching staff. Yet, is there any necessary question on how they have been utilizing their IGR? Look at KWASU, for instance. KWASU is generating money. From that money, is paying the salary. Of course, it's not that something worth praising. Government must contribute. There must be difference between state-owned university and that of private university. Kwara Poly, the same thing, has been generating the money, not on this administration alone, even yesterday. And the same government or somebody somewhere will be boasting that Polytechnic, for instance, is generating finance itself. Is it normal? It's not normal. State government must be taking certain measure in terms of support them. Funding. We call it subvention. But today there's nothing like that. And that's exactly what made most of the universities to be recruiting more than necessary students. And these are the factors that is degenerating our education sector in Nigeria. We didn't start like this.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Olariwaju Ishewe. Before we go on to the third issue, let's quickly go on this short time out. But don't forget, you can join in the conversation via WhatsApp 091-3655-6864. Tell us how you feel. Tell us your thoughts on the issues discussed this morning. And then you can call us when it's time to open up the phone line on 091-3655-6952. It's still the Diamond Breakfast Show, and I still have my guest, Mr. Olariwaju Ishewe. Just stay with us.
The major talking point in Nigeria are always on the lips of the citizens.
What's going on in this country? Look at smaller countries taking lead, and you call yourself giant of Africa. Yeah.
Nigeria don't spoil my business too much. Nigeria is too hard for us. I mean, I want to kill us. Father, not kill us for Nigeria. Please, help us beg them.
They should reduce their expenditure so that they can free enough money for social development.
I wish for a Nigeria where we elect a leader based on competency and not popularity.
On the Diamond Breakfast Show, we place the spotlight on the critical issues in the country.
Government that says they are broke can prioritize construction of an additional runway over education of the people.
How can a government, how can you hold in domain? This is intolerable. It's provocative.
Now, you see, when you look at our democratic journey, we are yet to practice genuine democratic system in Nigeria.
Join us on Mondays to Friday on the DBS from 9 to 10 a.m. The Diamond Breakfast Show, amplifying the voice of the people.
Welcome back from that break. If you're just tuned in and listening, you're listening to the Diamond Breakfast Show, reaching you from Diamond 88.7 FM Ilorin. My name is still BISOLA ODUWOLE SULEIMAN, and we've talked about a lot of issues this morning, but let's quickly take a look at the third issue before we start taking calls and contributions. We have lots of messages already on WhatsApp. The third issue we'll be looking at this morning is the influx of professionals in Nigeria to other countries. A lot of them are migrating. They are moving out of the country. No fewer than 200 Nigerian-trained doctors were reportedly licensed by the government of the United Kingdom in just 1 month. Checks on the website of the General Medical Council, the body which licenses and maintains the official register of medical practitioners in the UK, showed that the council licensed at least 200 Nigerian trained doctors between August 31, 2022 and September 30, 2022. Now, Mr. Olariwaju, why do we have this? So why do we have a lot of these professionals? Now, it's not just doctors. I know lots of nurses who have already left. Lots of tech guys who have left the country as well. Why do we have this at this point in time?
Majorly, we all saw what happened, was it not last year or before last year, during the Ebola. You know, Ebola was a global challenge that even the advanced countries, you know, didn't get it as expected. We thank God here, simply because we survived it, not because we have what's required to survive it, but only the God mercy save us. But when you look at this situation, it's because you don't have the opportunity to interview the Minister of Labour and Productivity. It's because at the time when the issue like this asked before him, what did he say? He said, we have enough doctors. We should allow them to go. We have them at our beck and call. There are even more than what is required. You know, that was the statement credited. I watched him. But when you look at the minister from the health sector then, Isaac Adewale, he came up with statistics talking about the numbers of registered doctors we have in the country. I think he talked about 86,000 registered doctors. Right. I talked about those that are in public service, that there are around 45,000 doctors. It means that 50% of the registered doctors we have in the country are the one working. It shows that we have them, not in essence, but most of them are not, an average of them are not being employed as expected. Thereby, they will look for ways through which they can survive. In another dimension is the WHO report that was about what is expected of a country, a serious country. A mention of Austria, Argentina, Brazil, UK, and others. The numbers of doctors that are available for certain numbers of people.
All right.
But in Nigeria here, the distance is too much.
It's a wide gap.
When you have around a doctor available for close to 4,000 patients. If you have been to our, hospitals, we nearly cry for this country. We are from the same area. I mean, Nigeria, the same environment, Kwara, are visited. What is the challenge we are facing here? Right from what we have in what we call UITH to what we have in General Hospital here and some cottages here and there. I discovered that we don't have enough manpower. That is one. Poor remuneration is part of the reasons. You now discover that these people acquire knowledge almost free because Nigeria cost of education is too meager compared to some countries.
All right.
After that training, they will now seek for greener pasture in foreign lands, and they see them as competent people. Most of them are given the opportunity to live. It is quite unfortunate, and I think what Nigeria is spending on medical tourism yearly is more than 1 billion naira. Statistics confirm this. So it means the money that is expected to be spent here, we spend it all there to revive their own country. But unfortunately, what the Gige said is that at the end of the day, these people, when they are, got their employment over there, they are going to send the money back home. Look at the thinking.
Right.
So, for me, the situation we have today pointing to the fact that we have not got it right. We just ended discussing about education.
Yes.
This is on health sector. In health sector, go and check our budget for health. In 2001, during Obasanjo era, I think there was AU meeting in Abuja, and they resolved that at least the budget for health should not less than 50% of the entire budget.
All right.
Go and check it.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Olariwaju. Now, what can be done to encourage these people to stay? Because this is the manpower that we have, the intellectuals, the good hands, the young hands, the strong hands that we have, and a lot of them are leaving the country. What can we do to ensure to encourage them to stay in the country?
With just one, we need to improve on their salary package.
Remuneration.
When you look at the situation today, I think in some ministries, or let me say in some sectors, we can still say that among the other professions that are earning fairly well, medical doctors are there.
All right.
But when you compare what they are getting here to what they package for them in other countries, they are far apart.
All right.
Two is the working environment. Our working environment today is not enabling enough for the doctors to be around us.
Right.
Some of them will tell us that I don't have office. Even if they do night call, there's not any comfortable environment for them to sleep. And this is the profession that deal with people's lives. They must be settled. There must be enabling environment for them to think and be careful in attending to the patients. So that is two. Three is infrastructure. Go and look at what you have today. We have our friends there that we don't have any latest equipment in our, even the federal, well, what do you call it, UITH and other things like that. I mean the federal hospitals. So if you don't have enough there, what do you talk about the states? What do you talk about the... So the simple elements, simply because there are the disparity between the rich and the poor, slight headache, they will journey to advanced country to attend themselves. But the common people, we don't have enough, no resources, and there is no any enabling environment even for the doctor to stay.
To work.
So these are the issues we need to look into. We need to jack up our budget provision for the health
sector.
Not only in the federal, but on the states and the local government. But when you don't have the local government on ground, even the states pay just little attention to that. The federal government, look at the excuses given. So it shows that we don't prioritize what is expected to be prioritized as a serious nation.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Olariwaju Ishowo. Let's quickly take a couple of contributions from our listeners at home. You can now call the third line 091-3655-6952. Please, when you do call in, ensure that your comments are precise and they're respectful as well. Let's ensure that we address issues and not people. 091-3655-6952. Hello, good morning. Hello. Hello, good morning. All right, do call us back 091-3655-6952. Tell us your name, where you're calling from, and go straight to your contribution. This one on WhatsApp says, good morning. The guests forgot to note that they are still under the ministry and the ministers are directly in charge of everything. What they do is just report to the president. Therefore, they have every right to be authoritative. Goodluck Jonathan didn't do enough because he signed the said agreement in 2009 but didn't fulfill it and transferred it to the next government. He's not the right person to give advice. Strike action is a sacrifice. ASU is not ready to sacrifice, yet they want to go on strike. Oluwaseun from Gakombe. All right. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Hi, good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from? All right, go ahead, please.
Your guest has really spoken a lot. Which I pray. I give kudos to him. Allah reward him in mercy.
All right.
He has spoken a lot. As you can see, a lot is really actually going on in the country. And which a lot of Nigerians are migrating due to hardship in the country. Which I believe this 2023 is in our front. So let's make the changes in our hand. Let's join hands and change it to the better of our future.
All right.
And let's pray for God intervention, which I believe God will take.
All right. All right. Thank you for your contribution. 091-3655-6952. Your contributions in 1 minute. We have a lot of people trying to call in on the show. I greet you and your guest. Your labor will not be in vain. Sincerely, there's a big drama unfolding in this country. If Nginge Adamu have come this far to humiliate ASU, no doubt they will never go All right, we sharpened their teeth, and this is what we get. Dr. Mrs. Abubakar, where is the AGF 103 billion looted from IPPIS? All right. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Dr. Zil from Cherry School.
All right, Dr. Zil, in 1 minute, please.
Yeah. Let me start with NASU and court order.
All right.
If ASU is to resume, everyone will not fall because the issue of court order in this country has been watered down, even from the federal government. You know how many court orders the federal government did not obey? And it's like they are trying to twist our judicial system to their own end. To dictate to the judicial system on what to do. And anybody who is white in this country should know that any matter that has not gotten to Supreme Court, you can keep dragging it until it gets there. It is only Supreme Court that can decide, and that is where the finality is. But whatever the Supreme Court says, that is the final. Appeal Court is still learning. They should wait for Supreme Court. So for me, it depends on ASU. Because it's really late now. Even when ASU resumes, they will not be happy. They work. And let's face it, because it's how many months remain for this year to end? Just 2 months. So when they resume now, do you expect us to go with passion to class or these lecturers to go for it? It's not going to work that way.
All right.
We should get it right. This is the result of electing the jokers as our leader.
All right, Dr. Zil.
I want to say this finally, that concerning this budget, this current budget now, you could see that this government has created more problems into the budget than the implementation of the budget thereafter.
All right.
So that is still a part of mediocrity in government. And we want to know that when it comes to this aspect of our people living, as a professional, do you think if I have opportunity I will not live in Nigeria? I'm going to live. Because if I don't leave, okay, who does it help that I stay here? At the end of the day, I realize that the mediocres will be the one they will elect. Even when you say you want to come out to be a leader, they will not elect you because they will look at you that you are a real fraud, you don't have money. You know what, these are the things that why people are leaving.
All right, Dr. Zil.
Combined to fight, to say no to mediocrity. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Zil. Let me quickly take a couple more messages. Good morning, House. Please let us not cause lawlessness by our analysis. We always allow political influence to affect our analysis. Jonathan met the union during his time. Did he solve the problem that was on since 2009? So anytime a union is on strike, the president must be involved before it is solved. I disagree. Don't use all means to defend ASU as it will not help us. Now, if we're using all our budget to service education, what about our decayed infrastructure? Yes, our government are not sincere. The followers too are also not sincere. Isa Mohammed. All right, Mr. Olariwaju, we need to go now, but let's take your final thoughts on the issues discussed this morning.
My final thought is that we should not give excuse to our leaders. If proper care is not taken, whoever succeeds President Buhari is going to treat the issue the way President Buhari is treating it, because Jonathan treated it yesterday, and we don't do it differently.
Right.
So for us to get a better result is to use another approach.
Right.
The coming administration must be sincere in taking up issues and let their campaign be scientific in nature.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Olariwaju Ishewo. Before we wrap up on the show, let's quickly take a visit to our News and Current Affairs department and listen to the news commentary for today. I'll be right back.
Today's commentary is titled Everybody's Business in Electoral Process, as written by Abdul-Hafiz Oyewole of our News and Current Affairs Department. Elections will come and go, but government is a continuum. In a democratic setting, Election marks a time to decide who to govern the people for a particular period of time. This time varies from one state or country to another. Getting elected into political offices takes procedures which the citizens, politicians, political parties, and the election umpire are involved in. That is why, in a democratic system of government, to choose leaders to lead for the stipulated period of time is everybody's affair. Consequently, every candidate must compete for an electoral seat under the umbrella of a political party. He or she must hold similar ideas about politics and particular ideological or policy goals with the said political party. A political party brings people of shared interests together while citizens vote for the party of their choice and by doing so influence government policies. Every political party has a uniform ritual that at a long run brings about the emergence of their candidate for the elections. Party primaries, caucus meetings, national conventions, campaigns and rallies are parts of the politicking processes and instruments to employ to ensure elections victory for the choice of leaders the citizens want, which they make pronounced on the election day. For this reason, to ensure election success in a free and fair atmosphere, all hands must be on deck. All political actors need to be on their toes in ensuring that the elections come and go without violence. The era of political thugs fomenting troubles should be a forgotten path for a democracy on its fourth phase and an independent state on its 62nd count. It is incumbent on all, including the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), to continue on its good tempo in making sure that next elections are conducted on an improved note, with the introduction of new technology and obeisance to its guidelines, and also by ensuring they are being followed to the letter by all political stakeholders. Political parties are also advised to coordinate themselves in good manners and base their campaigns on issues to improve the lives of the populace and not on personality. Citizens should ask thought-provoking questions when the political office seekers come to canvass for their votes. They should not hold back inquiries on every relevant questions that will ensure the dividends of democracy are attained. They should not wield the voting power they have with their permanent voters' cards, PVCs on pettiness and fake promises. It is high time the media maintained objectivity, impartiality and balance in their reportage, coverage and airtime sport. Nation building is everybody's business. And that was the commentary as written by Abdulhafiz Oyewole of our News and Current Affairs Department. And I am Toby Adebisi. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Toby Adebisi, for that news commentary. And that's the size of our package this morning. Before I go, let me quickly run through these messages. Comrade Olariwaju used to say, Jonathan, solve the problems within 24 hours. Jonathan, okay, I think I read this already. Thank you so much to everyone who sent in messages and called in on the show. We sincerely apologize that we couldn't take all your calls and contributions. Do join us tomorrow for another edition of the Diamond Breakfast Show with Mekamwa Osibodi. Do have a wonderful rest of the day. My name is BISOLA ODUWOLE SULEIMAN. Have a good day.
It's 2 minutes class on radio.
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 Hello. Welcome to another edition of 2 Minute Class on Radio.